Joe, how impressed are you with Ferrari winning consecutive years and Nicholas Nielsen's ability to save during that final stint?
Nicholas Nielsen's effort in that final stint, this is the kind of stuff that makes almost like sort of like a movie storybook at the end. You're so close to the win, but you have to be saving energy. And we were all on the edge of our seats, just wondering how accurate was that? Does he really have 2%? Will it come to us slow? The Toyotas, they're coming. So much on the air. And for everyone to watch it, I think this was just another example up there with the Indianapolis 500, the emotions of getting this win. As soon as he crossed the line, he was tearing up. His teammates, they were in the garage with hands up to their faces, just nervous, stressed out, just thinking, can we get this done? And they did. What a race by them. What an effort. While the 51 team has some issues, the 50 team, near flawless race, near flawless, the door issue. But Nicholas, wow. I just think this was just a very great effort by the entire team, showing what they're capable of. They don't exactly, especially for the casual race fan that is more familiar with the 51 getting the win last year, Antonio Giovinazzi. This team, these drivers, now they're the center of attention. I think this is just great for them. It's great for the sport in general and overall. Kobe, I just thought this was some of the best 24-hour closing moments where we knew there was a lot going on, but we saw a great amount of racing, and I'm just thrilled that they got to win. For the Ferrari fans, 2 in a row, they have to feel really good about that. They are just got to feel we got the last 24 hours of Le Mans. Let's go for that third one next year. What a great storybook.
Yeah, for sure. I thought Ferrari had a very impressive race, and it's funny because leading up to this, a lot of people, including us on Grid Tonight, we were saying that the Toyotas and the Porsches looked to be the favorite. And to be fair, they did look strong. During the latter part of the first half of the race and during the middle parts, but Ferrari, they were strong at the beginning and the end when it truly mattered the most. I thought this was quite a drive by those three winning drivers, Nicholas Nielsen, Antonio Fuoco, and Miguel Molina, especially Nicholas Nielsen. During that last stint, all of us were on the edge of our seats at the end of that race, wondering, is he going to have enough to make it to the start-finish line? If Nicholas Nielsen had to go one more lap around Circuit de la Sarf, it probably would have been game over for him. Like, can you imagine you only have 2% of energy remaining? That would not have been good because Jose Maria Lopez in that number 7 Toyota, he was coming in a hurry. If something would have happened to Nielsen, he would have been there ready to pass. And Joe, you mentioned the emotions of winning Le Mans. We saw Nicholas Nielsen with tears in his eyes inside the car. You saw his teammates Miguel Molina, Antonio Fuoco as well. They were very emotional. The entire Ferrari garage, there was nothing but tears flowing and joy. It just shows you what it truly means to win at Le Mans. So some drivers are lucky enough to win Le Mans multiple times during their career, while some drivers they could race here for 20 straight years and not win Le Mans a single time. So you truly want to savor these moments because it's definitely one of the hardest races in the world to win, and for this number 50 team to execute the job perfectly and get the job done, that's what it's all about. This is Le Mans, and it's going to be a massive party at Ferrari. The Tifosi, I'm sure all of the Ferrari fans are going to be jumping up and down all throughout the world, and it was going to be interesting to see what Ferrari is able to do for the remainder of this World Endurance Championship season. Like you said, Joe, next year they'll be going for a 3 in a row. We always expect Toyota to be in contention. Well, maybe Toyota's reign at Le Mans could be over, and maybe it's time for Ferrari to go on a similar run. Yeah, but Ferrari ended up taking 2 spots on the podium in this race. But if you're Toyota Gazoo Racing, you have to wonder what could have been. The number 8 Toyota got turned around by the number 51 Ferrari at Mulsanne corner as the number 7 Toyota suffered 2 punctures late in the race. Jose Maria Lopez replacing the injured Mike Conway in the number 7 Toyota had control of the car in the final stint. Lopez began the stint over 30 seconds behind the race-winning Ferrari, cutting the gap down to 14 seconds at the end, despite the team coming on the radio, telling him that they wanted to focus on preserving second place, thinking big picture about the championship. If it wasn't for those 2 punctures, Joe, do you think we would have been talking about another Toyota Le Mans win? Because 2 punchers, think about all the time they spent in the pit, and Lopez 14 seconds back. He would have definitely been way ahead, right?
Way ahead without those punctures. Very likely this was sort of the undoing of Toyota's race, getting those punctures and essentially putting them behind the Ferraris. And that's the amazing part of this 24-hour race. You could have a mistake like a punctured tire. Even though it's 24 hours, I think a lot of people, especially casual motorsports fans, are starting to get into endurance racing. They sort of think, well, compare this to a race that's typically 2 to 3 hours where a puncture could pretty much ruin the day. You have 24 hours. You can make up that difference. Not so. Look, they were behind. They just could not get there. At the end of the day, you could talk about safety cars, how they neutralized the field and everything. But the fact that you fell behind, you could not get past them. And then this gap that they had, it really shows no matter the form of motorsport, the length of it, 24 hours, still the smallest mistakes, the smallest on track issues can cost you at the end of the race. For Toyota, I thought it was interesting. Yeah, I know the idea. Let's think big picture. The championship is on the line. We don't want you to go because it was getting wet again. We don't want you to go sliding off course, losing valuable points. But I think it shows for the drivers. They knew how close they were to getting this win. They were pushing it. They just knew one hiccup from the Ferrari up ahead, they were all of a sudden going to be on the top set of the podium. So it was really interesting seeing the management team saying, preserve the second place. I think the championship, the drivers, they knew they didn't want to come home second place. They wanted to get this win. They know they were so close. It's just tire punctures, way it goes. You got to be near flawless, like I said with the 50 and they were just about near flawless, but those two punctures essentially out ruined their day. And you're going to be thinking about this for a while. 14 seconds behind, something else.
Yeah, 14 seconds may sound like a lot on a traditional track, but Joe, 14 seconds has got to hurt this number 7 Toyota team because I really believe that this was their undoing in the race. If it wasn't for these two punchers, I think we'd be talking about a Toyota victory right now instead of Ferrari going back to back. But Jose Maria Lopez, I know he's been under a lot of criticism throughout his sports car racing career because he often seems to he always puts the car right on the edge and sometimes he oversteps and makes a mistake that ends up costing his team. But this final stint, I thought it was very impressive by him, and for Toyota to trust him in the car in this final stint showed how much faith they have in him. And I'm just wondering, if they had this much faith in Jose Maria Lopez, why did they take him out of the number 7 and send him basically to the LMGT3 class if they wanted to have him run this final stint. But all in all, he did the very best that he could given the circumstances. And yeah, I was a little confused over the radio when the team basically told them they wanted to preserve P2, and not really push that hard. And even the announcers were saying on the Eurosport broadcast, they were like, we're racing in wet conditions right now. You could be one corner away from making a mistake and all of that. So if the number 50 Ferrari Nicholas Nielsen had made a mistake, and Jose Maria Lopez, just kept pushing, he could have potentially, made up those 14 seconds and gotten up there, instead of being like, hey, we want you to just take it easy and not push. And then if that mistake was made, and Lopez wasn't pushing, then the Ferrari would have had time to recover from the incident. But all in all, that Toyota, they didn't dominate Le Mans like we've seen in recent years, but they were definitely in the fight. And I think that they were 2 tire punches away from getting another Le Mans win. And unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be this year. And like we say about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway picking the Indy 500 champion each year, it's the same thing here at Circuit de la Sarre. Le Mans picks the winner, and today just wasn't the day for Toyota Gazoo Racing.